Hello and welcome to Better Than Art School. This is a mini lecture about how to use color movement to create focal points and basically move the eye around your painting. Okay, so in this figure there's no focal points, right? If I do this, boom, we've got a focal point because it's different. So this is the most basic way to create a focal point. It's just value contrast. It can be within a color. Basically, if you make something darker and everything else is lighter, you're going to have a focal point. So that's what's happening in this Monet painting, is that the sun is one of the focal points. It's just a darker version of this color that's already in the sky. This little people in the boat is just a darker version of the same shape that kind of goes back, and it's the same color as this. It's just a darker version. So these two pop. These are your two focal points. This kind of bridges those two together a little bit. Okay, so another way is through shape differentiation. So these are all circles, obviously, and the triangle pops. And that's kind of what's happening in this painting. You've got all these masks. They're all in one layer of space. They're kind of organic shapes. And this woman in the front kind of creates a strong triangle. So she pops out because she's bigger and because she's more dominant. She's coming into the foreground and she's a more defined shape. Okay, so that brings us to just making the shape bigger. That'll create a focal point. The obvious example here would be the Goya painting of the giant, or the Colossus, and he's walking this way, and then there's all these little people down here, but this is the obvious focal point, right? Because it's so much bigger. This is a more subtle version, and this painting, Lucian Freud kind of creates something like a wallpaper back here, and then this plant pops out because it's so much bigger. Okay, so then we can also create a focal point through isolation. I don't know where and obviously this circle has left the group, so we'll notice this and it becomes a focal point. So in this painting here, what's happening is basically this woman is the only one standing. They're all sitting. They're wearing dark clothes. She's wearing light clothes. And because of that, because also she's in the center of the picture, she becomes the obvious focal point here. Okay, but what I really want to talk about is using color to create focal points. So the red is obviously the focal point because the rest are all white. Okay, and that's kind of what happens in this painting. And basically everything is white or off-white or gray, and then this red container pops out. You can do it with multiples, and you can slightly change the saturation or any other aspect of the color. But this painting is basically just chromatic grays, and then you have these apples that really start to pop. Okay, this is a more subtle version, but let's just see if you can follow this idea here. Okay, so this is Madame X, a John Singer Sargent painting, and the colors are all kind of the same throughout, but then you have this more fleshy color, this more complicated color, and it creates kind of a triangle in the painting. Let me show you what I mean here. So her skin tone is really white and kind of devoid of blood, you might say. This woman used to take little lead pellets to make her skin super white, but her ear pops out because it's fleshy. And then her hands have that same color in it, so they also pop out. So you've got this kind of triangle of saturation that kind of creates a movement of your eye to the different fleshy areas. Okay? Another kind of way to do this with color and with mark and everything else. So this painting by Philippe Alonso, it's all kind of abstract. If you took the guy out in the middle, it'd be a very abstract work. You've got torn paper, you've got painted paper, you've got graphs, you've got drips, serendipity, I like to call it. But then this face is this recognizable thing. So if you do something like that in a painting where everything else is ambiguous, but suddenly you have one recognizable thing, especially something very psychologically potent for us like a face, suddenly that's going to become the focal point. And then another kind of subtle way to move the eye around. So when I first come into this painting, I go here. I look at this face with this yellow hood or yellow hair, and then I kind of follow the hands down. There's this kind of movement of hands. But then look at the way the color moves your eye around. So this is the most different color of all the other colors in the picture. But then after that, you kind of go, there's this kind of flesh color that happens through here. There's this kind of warm gray that kind of happens in different values through here. And this color here, the sleeve, is just a lighter value version of the color in the background. So it all kind of flips your eye around and moves your eye through the picture. And there's a little otter, and I will see you next time.